what's up, everyone? Welcome to the brand new episode of Heliopsychosis podcast. This is your host Vikka Draziv. Guys, welcome to the show. If you're watching us from YouTube, comment, like, share, and subscribe if you haven't. And yes, you could also become a member of this channel if you want to support what we do here and bring more shows. And the same could be done with Vikka Draziv Truth in Plain Sight on Facebook page, where you could subscribe to support all the contents we are doing. If you're watching us from Flat Earth Research Network Group or Heliopsychosis, welcome everyone there too, and do comment and tag your friends so that they could join the show. And apart from these two groups, we also have Flatten the Curve, and we have World Flat Earth Association group, which is one of our main groups. And we also have a private messenger chat, especially for the things we discuss in the podcast. So if you want to be in that private chat group, write us a PM us. And yes, finally, if you're watching us from realtruthseekers.com, realtruthseekers.net, Real Truth Seeker is one of our main sponsors for the Heliopsychosis and most of our coming productions. realtruthseekers.com is an uncensored, unshadowbanned, independent platform, very similar to YouTube. You could do the same thing what you do on YouTube, find some amazing content, but there you're going to find most of the thing which is banned on YouTube and censored. So they have amazing features always coming up. Soon they're going to be having, you could directly do streaming on Real Truth Seekers, and also they have a referral system. So if you are on that platform and if you refer people, and if these people in a way take some subscriptions or some cloud storage and many other features they have, so you get to keep 30%. So yes, 30% of anything the people subscribe on that page, you get the 30% for being the referral. So yes, realtruthseekers.com. And yes, our guest, we're going to jump in the show. We have our co-host, first, Rob Flat Plain Earth from Flatten the Curve. Hey, Rob, how are you?
And hello, Vikka. Nice to be back again. Our weekly rendezvous. Love the topic this time. I will tell you all. I want to say thanks to you, Vikka, for all your coordination. And as forever, the flatten the curve idea, beautifully executed, masterful work that was. That shall stand forever. And now we're doing our weekly broadcasting. We could literally take any part of this and put it into a future documentary. Looking forward to that. James, thanks for coming on. Always good to have well-rounded material, as always. And given our topic today, what I know from the U.S. military, all they told us ever was what we see on the map. There's nothing there, and the North Pole, it moves over time. There's a difference between magnetic north and the grid north, and so we had to recalculate that all the time. That's about all I know, except for all the maps, the ancient maps, which we know are more correct than what we have now. Ancient maps and all the stories we have. In other words, once we relearn the true shape of the Earth, or relearn it for the first time, we have to relearn everything else. So all this is fascinating, top to bottom. Can't.
I agree. Totally agree. If you can hear me, guys, yeah.
Oh yeah, James. Yes, you all know James too. He was here last week with us, and we had an awesome show and all his inputs too. So we invited him again. James, great to have you here, brother. Again.
I'm flattered, Vikka. Thank you for having me. And Rob, it's excellent to be here. I'm really honored. Thank you, guys. It's a
Great,
fascinating.
You're
James.
welcome, bro.
Yeah. We have to discuss the most fascinating things, right? And North Pole is one of them. It's on our realm. It's somewhere, and yet we are collectively seem to have this disinterest in visiting it, don't we? No one seems to
Exactly.
be
Huh?
able. Yeah, we seem to have this forget about it approach, but it's right
Even
there.
though it's the center and the
Yeah,
North Pole is right above it and it never moves, and the Bible talks about it as it's the center of all things. But we have this collective, amnesia. In other words, what as you
exactly.
described, well said.
You have to wonder if it's
Right.
almost part of the programming to create this disinterest with the North Pole. Who
Oh,
knows?
of course it is. That's exactly what it is. It's all collective programming. Yes, it is. MK Ultra style.
Oh yeah. What do
Oh
you?
yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, James.
Well, I was just gonna say, there's so many theories about what it could be, but ultimately, what it really comes down to, I feel, is what we can observe and document for ourselves. I'm one of the people who really don't believe a thing unless I can observe it and record it. And I know maybe that's a little bit, that separates me from a lot of, the people who just watch a video and say, yeah, that's what's at the North Pole. I don't believe anything unless I see it and record it, right? So these theories that it could be that and this and that, I will entertain them. But when it really comes down to is what my real world observations are. So, yeah, as far as I know right now, it's a place on our realm. It seems to be below Polaris. And what shape is our realm? We're still discovering that. North Pole is
Oh.
important. Yeah.
Oh
Go
yeah.
ahead.
We know definitely that it's not a globe. Yeah. So if it's not a globe, whatever it could be, so that's what we are trying to figure out. And it's true. We cannot just take words for anything. We have to observe and what we perceive and really put it to test. We can just listen to things and yeah, that's the truth. So that's why everything we experiment and everything, all the observations, and we a few observations, so and we do a lot of research behind it before we really try to say, yeah, this could be true. And especially with flat earth, it's not speculation, because
Hmm.
we as we say, we are using science and data and what is given and what is there, because there's a lot of material from the past 5 to 600 years for us to even look, because they're phasing out things, they're putting in things. So there are really evidence, if people dig into it, to find out what could be exactly happening. For example, there are old maps that shows Arctic region, or what is known as the North Pole, with four land masses, and a large rock in the central part. What what, what they call the first known map of the Arctic, from Gerardus Mercator from 1595. Or the first map, which more or less, not the first map, but one of in those timeline, in the 1500s, end of 1500s. Gerard Mercator.
Can I ask Vika? Because there's a little bit of confusion on my part, and I will admit, is the Mercator map the rectangular or the square type of map that they show? Is that what the Mercator map is?
No, the Mercator one, the ones which showed you with the four islands in the middle. That was
I see. Yep.
is the
Okay. I
But there
got you,
are
man.
many other maps which shows, yeah, there are many other maps which shows these four islands, but the Mercator one was the Mercator. He was like also a cartographer, a geographer, a cosmographer. You know, like
Hmm.
the map he made, the famous projection, the Mercator projection, was made for the navigators. Was like, thanks to that map, the way it was designed, people could plot a course in a straight line from a
Hmm.
point of origin to the point of destination.
Well, can I say, yeah, when you say the word straight line, the first thing that comes to my mind, anyone who's investigated the truth, may or may not have dabbled in the square as well as the circle. Because can I just say that when we are exploring the circular map, to me, I know as an honest observer, there are some problems, right? And we have to be cognizantly aware of those problems, and it's only a responsible thing to do. And part of the thing that I would like to mention or ask you guys is the phenomenon of the northern lights, Aurora Borealis, supposedly coming from the North Pole. And there is one major issue with the AE circle, and it has to do with Aurora Australis being a localized phenomenon at the supposed bottom of the south, right, where the southern lights appear. Now, if the AE circle was true, that presents a rather complicated issue because our observations don't match our assertions, right? We're observing a localized light phenomenon in the southern hemiplane, which is Aurora Australis. So that to me is something I'm intrigued about. I would like to know, because if we know the AE circle, there's a supposed ice wall that surrounds the Earth. I don't think it is possible to have a localized phenomenon such as Aurora Australis. Do you guys know about that? To comment on that? And I hope I've articulated it correctly. That's a problem with the AE circle. So perhaps maybe we have
Right.
to explore, is it a square with a
Well, I
straight
would.
line?
We talked about this midnight sun in Antarctica. It's impossible. It cannot exist, and therefore the Aurora Australis. I don't have any observation of that. Do you, by chance?
Personally, I do not,
Yeah,
but
I haven't even heard of it actually.
but I do take the word of my diligent friends who are truth seekers. One is in New Zealand, and they have witnessed it. I would have
Well,
to go to
the
further.
dome. Remember, the rakia comes to the ground out there, and remember the encyclopedia 1958 declared this with photo images that the dome came to 13,000 feet at a latitude longitude of 80 degrees south, 90 degrees east. 13,000 feet. That's not too high. So there would be some form of reflection out there from the dome itself. There we go.
Almost like a mirror effect, correct, Rob? Is that what
Just
you're
like at the north.
right?
That's what the Aurora Borealis is.
Right.
The northern lights. Well, the southern lights would be a reflection, a local reflection from the southern region.
I agree. And do you see how that kind of creates a problem for the AE circle? They have these, the ice wall and the perimeter. Of course, we do not have an Aurora Australis as a reflection going 60,000 kilometers around. It's a localized phenomenon. So obviously, we know it's not a globe, and there's a problem with the AE circle, but we know that the square has problems as well, right? So what is the answer? I mean, we're figuring it out. That's valid for now.
If the AE is right or wrong, like I mean the central part, because what we are trying to put it out here is that the Mercator is one of the first projection, not the first, but in that timeline, who really put that map, those 4 islands in the middle. So we don't know if it's really right or wrong. And speaking about a circle or a square, because if you speak about that part of the world in other ancient texts, it comes a circle with a square. It's called bindi. Yeah, it's the dot with a square with a circle again. Then these circles are supposed to, in a way, spread out like the bhumandala, like the land. So yeah, and speaking about the Aurora Borealis, the word also it says by itself, because if you see the Nullarbor Plains in Australia, the word Nullarbor means without trees, arbor. So the same word is there in Aurora Borealis. So aura is the short form of Aurora, which looks like it, and Borealis. So the same we could say for Hyperborea. So there are these, Borea is a common word in all these words we are speaking: Nullarbor Plains, Aurora Borealis, or Hyperborea, which is supposed to be one of these islands from the 4 islands, right? So the meaning could be Hyperborea is hyper is hype, huge tree, Borea. So a Borealis, so it's the light could be that from the central tree, the tree of life, the magnetic north, so this phenomena is more to the central part of it. So we don't know really the Australis really exist, or what could be the phenomena if it does exist.
I agree, and that's a totally okay place to be, right? Anything is better than the spinning mud ball. That is just a joke, and this is why we do these podcasts, right? To have
Exactly.
like an open forum of like-minded truth seekers who do their own observations and share them with the hosts and people listening, right? This is how we hypothesize and develop the truth, because we don't know
At least,
yet, and
Exactly.
that's
or at least
okay,
we discuss the truth
right?
instead of the rote indoctrination of their textbooks. We're talking
Or
about what
worse,
might be, right? What
correct,
makes sense.
or worse, Rob, blindly accept a new model without having verified a damn thing as well, right? So
Exactly.
that's why it's
Exactly.
perfectly okay to question
Or
the AE circle. Perfectly okay.
ignoring its precepts, just like everyone has done with heliocentrism, which fails
Exactly.
at every mathematical attempt to verify it. James, I want to state this about the AE map. The the word rakia, it implies the dome. Well, a dome has an edge. It's like a cake bowl covering. It's 360 degrees. So the AE map matches that. And Admiral Byrd's testimony states that there was an ice ring, and then of 2,500 miles of ice, and that's where the dome was. The dome is far beyond. The edge of the dome is far beyond the ice ring. So the ice ring.
Well, I hope this, you guys won't mind it, but I even question that Admiral Byrd was really existed, and because any information provided for us and mass printed, I question, who knows if this guy was legitimate. They were trying to herd the sheep and lead them to believe something else. That doesn't mean I'm against
Yeah.
the dome, right? It just
Yeah,
means
indeed.
anything provided, I basically scrap. And I just have to allow my intuition and observations to lead the way. I don't know if you feel the same.
Oh yeah, we,
Well,
we
indeed.
discussed that in one of our shows about the Antarctica treaty being more than 500 years old. And in that podcast, we discussed about Admiral Byrd, because a person who was given so much airtime during that time,
Hmm.
this could be a plant.
Correct. Absolutely. We're
Yes.
more awake than they think, and we're not going to fall into the next indoctrination. No way.
Yeah, exactly. Well said there.
Yeah.
Well said. And it's on us and to maintain what we have and not let what we have slip away, because they love to put it all back in the box,
Oh yeah.
and so people would forget about it. But no, it's out to stay as far as I'm
Too
concerned.
too late. Too late for them, right? We're no longer falling for their
Uh,
BS.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's comforting to say. I studied engineering at their engineering school, West Point Military Academy. So I know everything they're talking about, and every time we talk, my lessons come into my head because I've studied them.
Hmm. Well, that's why you know I well, don't know about you guys, but when the mention of the square, one has to consider Enoch and what they were saying. So I took a couple weeks to really investigate what Enoch and the flat square was saying. And there's some really good people who know what they're talking about. I don't have any shame in mentioning them. Sammy Kelly, he's amazing. This guy is intelligent, man. He's in Australia. He absolutely knows the indoctrinations are real. But again, I rely on firsthand observation only, and I consider myself responsible that way, right? I don't know if you guys have looked into the Enoch model. Have you? Is that okay to ask here? I know
Yeah,
we're
there are.
talking. Yeah.
Yeah, there are people, quite a handful of flat earthers who are into the square Earth, and
I
yep,
mean, there's some obvious problems with every model, right? Obviously.
right.
But
Yeah, even
try,
with flat Earth, yeah.
I mean, to give everyone a chance to have a chance to speak is important. And I've done that. And I know you guys have too. One of the things I want to ask, do you guys know if the North Pole has anything to do with the tides? I have a theory, okay, is that the oceans seem to be raising and lowering. Could it possibly be like the Earth breathing, the water levels rising from the North Pole and going out and up and down? It causes that. I don't think it's to do with the magnetic phenomenon of the luminaries. Maybe a little bit, but I also think it has something to do with the North Pole, perhaps, or the South Pole, if there is one. Almost
Yes,
like
but
the Earth is breathing, like an aquarium. What do you think?
so there are even part of Mercator in that documents. There was they speak about this giant whirlpool in the middle, in the north, with a large rock in the center, named as Rupis Nigra, very high black cliff, and they think that this could be the reason because of that whirlpool that the water goes in. I don't know if it comes back, but so they have a theory of saying that this could be one of the reasons that could be the tides.
Possibly, right? Anything is possible. I forgot what I was going to say, but basically it had to do with that. And yeah, the thought will come to me. Go ahead.
I'd like to just point this out. Square or circular. Well, I'll submit this. Anything that's electromagnetic needs a circular shape. A square. See where I'm going with? If the sun and moon are anodes and cathodes, right? Then it requires that circular continuous. Look at the path of the planets. I say again, the planet stars around the North Star. They make a generalized circular pattern. I always hold this, that the square has to do with the four corners of the cardinal directions, talking about the ends of the Earth, north, east, south, and west. And then we have the Big Dipper. As it moves throughout the year, it makes four corners like that. So I always take it this way. This is observational as well, that the anode and cathode needs a circular path. The four directions make four squares, or make a square with four sides on it: north, east, south, and west. The square is figurative, whereas the circle is.
What about a torus field, right? Is that considered somewhat a circle, right? Hopefully you guys can hear me.
Yeah, it's Yep.
I mean, the torus, right? The torus is could be possible, and if it's
this is Rob again. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. My phone, when my screen blanks out, I lose my voice. Sorry about that. But you're right. The torus field is observational. It's a 360 degree, not the four corner of the square. That's what I'm getting at. Thanks.
Yeah, but correct, Rob. But it's also possible that this square or this four division of this island could be a way, as it's being in the north, it's a way of showing those four rivers, the four directions of the rivers, because this is not only in the Mercators or the maps we see in the ancient maps. We see in many texts, in ancient texts, we see the same phenomena of the four directions, because these four rivers and these four islands represent those four directions too, and being it in the center, because if the square is outside, you're putting the whole world in the middle, or the whole plane in the middle. But if the square is next to the center, the central north, and it's guiding the four corners or the four directions, so could be,
Yes, indeed. These are all ideas of what could be. By all means, we all agreed that the spinning space water ball it doesn't work. Here's another thing I read. I read this. I'm just going to throw this out. This is just an observation by somebody. If the Earth were a spinning ball, we know it's not. Well, look at how much the Giza pyramids. That's a lot of weight. Those are millions of tons. Okay, wouldn't that throw the Earth off balance? in its rotation. Yeah, you see what I'm going here?
Yeah,
If
I mean
that
it's
like a tire. If your tire's not balanced, it's not spinning properly. Well, to take 6 million, how many tons it is on those pyramids, and put it all on one side, that really fouls up the Earth's orbit and rotation.
I agree, buddy. And the not to mention the weight of the oceans, just
Oh yeah,
flopping
yeah,
about.
yeah, exactly. By the way, if you want to look at harmonic resonance, the anything that's got a sloshing motion cancels out cancels out spinning or movement. I mean, literally just cancels it. It can't last more than one iteration in a scientific model. And I mean, think of a soda can. You can't spin it because, or really, an egg. If you want to spin an egg, well, you got to boil it. A non-boiled egg will not spin, whereas a boiled egg will spin. Well, what do we have on the globe model? We got one big egg with sloshing oceans. It will not spin.
I know. It's just funny that you know have an honest conversation with someone who truly believes in the heliocentric model, and you will quickly become aware of how indoctrinated they have become. Of course, maybe they refer to their numbers and their data, and everything seems to add up for them. But as soon as you start investigating, it makes them rather uncomfortable. But I think that's a comfortable place that we've arrived at, all of us, us truth seekers. We're okay with knowing we don't know, right? I mean, that's a
Oh,
perfectly
that's
okay place to be. I'm
right. That's
sorry, but
what flat earth teaches us, that we could know things, we could perceive things, we could have our ideas and what it could be, but we are open. That's why we open to flat earth, because we were also like, so indoctrinated, maybe would have never wanted to see the truth, because yeah, they speak about a lot of data and everything works for them, but it's all fake data. It's all fake, man.
Yeah,
So
it's all it's yeah, it's
unverified.
not even fake data. It's just imagination. It's nothing more than imagination. It's theory. It's literally somebody with their pen on paper making a theory. And so we in our community, we realize that there's a lot that we don't know, but we can identify fallacy. That's the key right there. Identify the fallacy, and that gets us at least one step closer to the truth. Then
Yep.
that's true of anything. Identify and eliminate fallacy. And globe is number one.
Oh yeah.
oh yeah.
I do use heliocentric data for a few things. Particularly, I refer to time and date to get the accurate times of the sunrise and moonrise and such. They can't lie about physical phenomenon which
Right.
occurs,
Yeah,
right?
that's not necessarily
S- I just do it.
observational. That's observational, right? That's not heliocentric. That's observational.
So from
But the
there, I can.
ancients, yeah, but yeah, the ancients have been doing this for a long time, from thousands of years, and with more accuracy. These people just computerize and digitalize it, and and they're doing some astronomy with their telescope. But the ancients been doing all the time in and also about the eclipse, like they could predict in future and all the like alienation of all the planets or some transit, and for definitely about the constellations, and that's what all the whole astrology and astronomy is based about. So they aren't doing really anything different, they're just calling it that they are doing it, on the globe with a spear, so yeah. So anyway, so till 1900s, there was not really, according to their data what they're giving, like, nobody had explored this part of the world, and and as I mentioned, according to Mercator, these oceans like were like kind of combining, or coming from there, these rivers like with giant whirlpools in the middle, and with the mountain there in the middle, and also coincide, how would you say, these people. There was a book called, a mysterious book, which was called Inventio Fortunata. Have you guys heard about that book?
Not yet. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it means, in Spanish it means lucky discovery, and it was like a kind of a journal written in 14th century.
Hmm.
by a guy named Franciscan Friar from Oxford, like who it was said that he traveled to the North Atlantic region in the early 1300s, and on his return, like he reported to the king of that time, Edward, and the book contained the description of the North Pole as a magnetic island surrounded by this whirlpool, with the four islands. So
Hmm.
four continents they call it.
Wouldn't it be something if we could actually get close to it? Man, that would be spectacular. I mean, who knows if it's accessible to a point where we can actually start making some noise publicly about trying to get there, right? It would be just amazing if one of us could get close to the North Pole to see these things you speak of, Vikka. Man,
It's not me who I am saying.
I
That's what
know, I know.
all the information that is they have given out there. What Vico are trying to make up our mind with what's been presented, and with our own logic, what could be happening, that this could be happening. This is what they are giving us. So if they are giving us this, what could be really happening there? We don't know. Some
Can
part
I?
of it could be truth. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say something that I think the closest we can start to uncover the true shape of this realm. I think personally has to do with tracking the star trails, whether or not we have counterclockwise or clockwise. Can I just describe for you an interesting phenomenon which a friend of mine mentioned? Okay, I'm going to describe it, and if you will, Vika, and Rob, and
Go ahead.
whoever's listening, if you stand or sit with your hand in front of your face and your index finger pointed upright, okay, and start to make a clockwise rotation, like you're stirring a pot clockwise, okay, do that slowly. It's going clockwise. It's going clockwise. Now raise your finger upward. Keep raising it, and you will notice what was once clockwise is now become counterclockwise. It's almost a mind screw job of perspective where it's going clockwise, but then you raise your hand up and all of a sudden it's going counterclockwise. Could that in fact be what the stars are doing? I am still of the belief that the stars are going clockwise in the north. They follow the same path as the sun and moon. Whether or not it's a straight line or a semicircular arc is yet to be determined. I understand how a straight line could be perceived as an arc. And to that note, if you guys have done that demonstration with your hand, with the stirring the pot clockwise and then becoming clockwise, there's a certain point where it will flip, right? Am I making any sense? Do you guys
Right.
see what I see? Now, combine that with the phenomenon of what we are looking at, and the shape of our eyes could be creating an illusion of circles, when in actuality, it's straight and square, right? It could very well be straight and square, but we are perceiving everything as clockwise, when in actuality, we really don't know yet, right? I don't know. I think that
Right.
demonstration was pretty powerful for me to demonstrate
Yeah,
what was, yeah, was
yeah,
once
as we know, our eyes, the lenses of our eyes, the lenses of the camera, the lenses of the telescope, video camera, everything has that convexity. So we perceive everything as going in a way as a circle, like
mm-hmm,
when we see the
mm-hmm,
sun and the moon, and also
mm-hmm.
the vanishing point, the how the thing looks like. So that could be, as you say, it depends on the observer. It's always about the observer,
Exactly.
because
It's
there's your universe. You are the center of the universe. So wherever you look, things change, perspective change. One thing, as you said, moving left to right looking from the other side will look right to left. So yeah, it does make sense.
yeah, our own personal atmospheric experience, right? And it's all relative to ourselves. What one guy is seeing might not be the same as what I'm seeing, especially in the north versus the equator versus the south. Things could be completely
Exactly.
opposite. So yeah.
Well said. And as we've talked in our our electromagnetic sun, the sun is not verifiable on paper. We
Can't
cannot chart the direction of the sun, the angles to it.
or
Therefore,
triangulate, correct?
yeah, that's what I'm getting at. We cannot triangulate. So
Hmm.
we all know it's there, but we all see it differently. And there it
Hmm.
is right there. The sun is real. What I'm getting at is the it's we if we eliminate the fallacy, we know the sun is there. We can't triangulate it, but we know it's there. So a lot of things we take for granted and then try to figure out if we don't know how to triangulate it, maybe there is a way, and that advances our learning. But we know that we can identify certain things.
Hmm. Can I say to that? I think the best way we have to triangulate, if you will, is to do a live video. I think I mentioned this on the last podcast, a live video of someone filming the sunset on the video call with someone observing the sun rising at the same time. Then we know
Okay,
that it's either the same
the
sun,
the edge of it.
right? So we can get an idea of size, shape, and distance, right? Those three things based upon the sunrise and sunset happening in real time at the same time and video recording it. No pictures. We need live video. That'll help. And I endeavor to
Yeah,
do
it
so.
would.
I will do so, yeah.
And James, with your dependence on personal uh, empirical information, you're gonna become quite the explorer. If
Huh.
you're gonna believe and follow only what you can measure for yourself, you got a lot of places to go to see all these things.
Oh, oh yeah, buddy.
You
I
see what I
mean,
mean?
life has
So
become that
there's a
much.
very good,
Go ahead.
yeah, there's a very good software application called Dioptra. Maybe you should check it out, or maybe you already know. So what you could do with this application, imagine if we have 10 people from different places in the world, we have that application, and you could record the sun, moon, or whatever you want to record, and it's going to give you the angles, the latitudes, exact latitudes, everything about to your horizon. So this could help for us to make an experiment, what you're trying to what you just spoke about. And
For sure, man. It's like we were rewriting history in the textbooks, right? We are
Exactly.
the
That's
new
exactly what we're doing.
completely, man. The new explorers, the new scientists, and we'll name them something like, the Draziv IJAG Rub Flat Plane in Earth experiment number 1.444 or whatever,
Oh yeah.
and we'll write our own. And that's the way it
Yes,
goes.
absolutely. The most important two words of science, and I will say this as a degreed engineer with 2 master's degrees, the most important two words of science are flat Earth.
Yep.
If we don't
Observable.
know flat Earth, if we don't speak and based on flat Earth, then we're nothing.
Hmm.
And all we're
oh
doing is
yeah.
following rote indoctrination. Rote indoctrination. That's all it is.
Yeah. So anyway, James, we next week we're gonna be doing Star Trails.
Nice.
So it's
Okay.
gonna be
Well,
awesome, and we could discuss that exactly. And yeah, for sure, there's a lot of things to share with that topic, because many people have confusion about that too, and many trolls that try to. So we're gonna be doing a whole show about it. And yeah,
okay.
in a way, the astronomy, okay, a lot of, because of astronomy, we know that the earth is flat, but we can't really depend 100% on the astronomy or what's happening in the sky. Then what's the shape of the earth, right? So we have to have those how do you say, more diversity in accepting everything, because we know the astronomy is most is light phenomena, as we spoke about in many of our podcasts. And the same thing with the sun, the moon, the stars, and everything happening, so we can
Mhm.
really depend on that. So yep.
That became the motivation for my YouTube channel, just to observe. And I chose the moon first as my focal point because it's the most easily accessible and observable. You can film the moon and, first of all, know what is this? What am I looking at? And watching a moonrise over a lake, man, spectacular. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but just that phenomenon alone, every time I observe the moon, you learn something. Whether it's specular reflections or the way the moon terminates, and compare it to how an observer in the south is viewing the termination line, is interesting. And that's important, Vikka, and that's why I made my YouTube channel, just so it's documented, it's historical, and you can look back at all the episodes that I've uploaded, and I'm learning as I go without shame. There's things I
Oh
didn't
yeah,
know
we all
20 years.
are. We all are, brother.
Yeah,
Nobody know. We all know.
and,
We can say
and we have to.
everything. Yep.
If we don't open our mind to accept new truth, then we'll never see new truth, and we'll remain. And it's a form of stagnation. We have the truth, which is what we call flat Earth, but that's not all truth. There's how much we've already named 15 different huge phenomenons that we don't understand during this conversation, right? So we got to keep seeking more truth.
Exactly. It's not good enough just to know the earth is flat. We want to know more, like how does it work and what's our purpose here and why did the creator make it like this? And I really think the creator made it so confusing, if you will, so that we would always wonder, and also twofold, so he would be able to remain humbly anonymous. Therefore, he's not taking credit for this, right? And that's humble.
We have to
respectable.
We have to live by faith. And faith means knowing and then acting on it. That's what we can never, right? The creator made it that way. In other words, we're educating ourselves from start to finish. In other words, we know what we know now, but like you just mentioned, James, if our mind is open, we're continuously learning to the end of this mortal existence. Absolutely.
Right. And it's not only about studying and investigating. You have to really connect with the nature, with the frequencies also, in a way to get to the truth, so, because there's some things just by being very rational and very scientific and it's not going to help. We need that special connection with the creation to get that answers, because there's some things.
There must be something so special about us and the creator, our connection, that they are trying desperately to hide, right? It must be just amazing.
Absolutely.
What is it about the creator that they are trying to conceal, or our relationships with the creator? It must be amazing.
And James, I know the answer, by the way. I know the answer to that right now.
Let's
go.
You
ready for it?
Let's go. Yeah.
The creators, and there are men and women creators, because men and women are as opposite as they could be and still be human beings. There have to be women among the Elohim creators, because Genesis 1:26 says, "Let us create man in our image and according to our likeness." Well, a male creator could not create a female in his image and likeness. Okay, so there are women among them. Here's the great secret. This is the biggest secret of all spoken truth right now. The Elohim, the holy creators, the gods and the women gods among them, they are human beings just like us. And they created the flat earth. And they also lived on a flat earth before they displayed themselves worthy of becoming creators. Now they've created us. And if we demonstrate ourselves worthy of becoming creators, they will assist us to becoming creators as well. That's the great secret right there.
Well said, brother. Yep, I agree 100%. I've noticed since go ahead.
Well, yeah, it's a big jigsaw. The flat Earth is like a big jigsaw or a big mystery that we flat Earth in a way need to solve. Everybody's doing our part. Each and every flat earther in a way, trying to decode, because everything is not going to be served in a platter. Something needs to be worked on, digged in, and looked into with time, and a lot of time that we could understand some things, because as we say, sometimes things could be just hidden, and the people who want to control us have things hidden. For example, what the word hidden, if we take out H, what is it?
Eden.
Yeah, exactly. So these islands with the four islands in the center of the north, some people say that this could have been the Eden, even in Genesis 2:10, it writes a river comes out from the Eden to the water garden that was divided, where it's divided into the four rivers, and one of the islands is supposed to be the Hyperborea out of the four islands.
Well, there's
And
something there. Go ahead, Vikka.
yeah, and also in the Vedic scriptures, it speaks about the Mount Meru. So the information is there. It's just not really easy for some things are in a way coded, and something is just shows as a myth or as a fantasy, because now these people are calling these four islands that it was just a myth. It was nothing really, because this not only Gerard Mercader, there are many other cartographers in this time who were drawing the center of the earth with those four islands, where Hyperborea was one of them, and Friesland, Iceland, free of Iceland, Greenland. So you think the Greenland, the ice they show to us with the ice on the Google map, are they stupid to call that part of the earth Greenland? It had to be green, or it is maybe green. No.
Well, Vikka, I can add to that. There's what's known as anthropologically speaking, there's what's known as the cold line shift. Before 1200 AD, the Greenland was green. There were farms there. There are farms marked out under the ice. It's called the cold line shift. Before the year 1200, northern England, where the Scottish lands are now, the best wine in Europe was coming from northern England until the cold line shift. In other words, until roughly the year 1200 AD, the center was North America was tropical. For example, much warmer parakeets buried in the ground with native skeletons, if you see what I mean. They had parakeets as pets, which denotes a tropical warm climate. In other words, and by the way, that's about the time that the Sahara was once warm,
Habitable.
Yeah, habitable. Yeah. Whereas now we see there are castles, literal castles covered with sand, because the sand has overgrown the Sahara. Before the year 1200 AD, the face of the earth was quite different than what we see now because of that cold line shift.
Well, I agree. Obviously, there seems to be, problems with this creation. Now, was it made that way? The Sahara seems like it, as a result of some sort of catastrophe, for sure. I mean, it doesn't seem like a perfect creation right now. Do you agree, guys? I mean, all this swath of land is just uninhabitable and inaccessible. So perhaps, they are messing with the creation and causing these, changes, massive climate changes, and we are just becoming aware of this now. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? I just want to say,
right.
Go ahead.
Right.
Yep. Here's another response to that. The Holy Creator, in all of his scriptures, he warns people, if you do not follow my ways, then great calamities will come upon you. Okay? And it happens throughout history. We should, that's one big lesson that we never learn in the schools, that when we do not follow the Holy Creator, then bad things happen. Like the Sahara covering all of our farmland, and Greenland covering all of our farmland as well. So, that could be a lesson right there. And it is a lesson.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they say, Rob, adding to what you were saying, they also say the same thing about Antarctica, that there was civilization living before, and now they're saying, no, scientists are coming up with Antarctica, that there was some other kind of civilization. There's some ancient maps which shows construction on that part of the world of Antarctica. So
there you go.
And some part where they show green, like rivers with trees, with pine trees, similar to vegetation like near Lake Baikal. So it's just to make it mix. So it just to mix people up too, about what is happening or what had happened there, because there could be part that it's still the same, so we don't know. It could be that the Greenland and all this part where they're showing ocean right now in the Google, where these 4 islands where they're showing part of Greenland with the ice, and in Google it shows just the ocean, Arctic Ocean, don't show anything. But in most of the ancient maps, these islands existed.
Well,
Right.
you guys probably
For example, here's a real quick. Yeah, hold that thought, James. Right along this line of what Vikka is saying, the ancient maps show California to be islands. The inner part of California, where I'm sorry, Death Valley. Death Valley is, a lot of it's below sea level. So if the ocean levels were higher at about zero, about the time of Christ, the ocean level was much higher. In other words, the ocean, the sea level in Louisiana was at northern Louisiana until 400 or 500 AD. Okay, there was a huge international shipping port there. What that means, the ocean waters were higher. They were still receding from the flood, by the way, until the level that they are now. Okay, you with me there? In other words, none of the current maps show the interior of California as being an ocean, whereas all the ancient maps show that California only had islands. The Western California islands sticking up out of the water. The interior of California was all inland sea. Well, it's more or less ocean separated, and the islands were on the outside, on the west. The modern maps don't show that. I'm supporting Vikka's point about the ancient maps. We should revert to the ancient maps to gain a lot of understanding, because the current maps, they're all heliocentric garbage. We know that. So So James,
right.
Back to your point. Forget it.
Okay, go ahead, James, and then we continue.
No, basically, the ancient maps could be more valid than we have today. Absolutely.
Voila.
And I'm still on the fence as to whether or not the ancient maps included an Antarctica. Did they? I don't know. And that's why I seriously have questions about the perimeter ice wall. Does it exist? We've been shown videos for sure, right? But do we really know that it's actually there and it surrounds our realm?
Yeah. We see a few hundred meters of ice ring. We see a few hundred meters of it, but does that equal the entire 26,000 mile circumference as James Cook advertised, right?
Right. Advertised is precisely it.
The Monte Urbano map shows Antarctica not as an ice wall, but different lands, with habitable lands, with people, with animals, and there are some even globes which shows ancient globe maps which shows Antarctica much more huge, much more huge, more like habitable. And so, speaking about the map, there was another map by Abraham Ortelius, in the 1597, like according to it, Hyperborea, or these 4 islands, like was located in the extreme of the north of the known world, according to this map, where it was supposed to be called the wind, where it Avorias, and it's also known as a magical land where the inhabitant could live up to 1,000 years and were eternally happy. And it is also said that Hyperborea could have been an advanced civilization, like according to some sources, and it was a terrestrial and celestial principle of civilization where the earth met, where the celestial plane and the terrenal plane met.
There's definitely a connection there, absolutely. And I feel it's intimate in the connection to ourselves. I do believe that the cosmos is alive, aware, and connecting with us in a two-way relationship. If we are affecting it, it is affecting us, and vice versa, right? Just some theories, and I don't know how I got on that topic. I'm trying to stick with the North Pole. I apologize, Vikka. Just sometimes...
it's all good.
Yeah, the sonoluminescence is in play, right? They could be the stars could be a result of sonoluminescence, absolutely. But I think there's some degree of self-awareness to the stars, not on a on the level that we know, such as having a respiratory system and a digestive system, but alive in a different sense, where it's a frequency and it's connecting with us and affecting our reality much more than we know. Absolutely, right? They're definitely not burning balls of gas and rocks up there. So that's why, honestly, I'm looking up
That's
every night.
that's why the adding to what you're saying, James. That's why the majority of the people are into astrology, because there is a connection with the constellation. And if you see, there's a pattern of every character that are literally, in a way, the major principal characters are really dependent on their zodiac. I know there are people really don't believe in astrology, but I don't think it's a fantasy or a myth. It's just science in a way of the frequencies and energy you receive from the sun, the moon, the constellation, the stars. So there has to be that connection on there. It's true. There has to be
Yeah,
life. There has to be a connection of
yeah.
with us human and the stars.
And
Definitely.
they put the astrology section in the newspaper in the comic section, right? So we dismiss it. Well, hidden in plain sight again,
Exactly. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's absolutely in
Yeah.
play. Absolutely. Astrology is big time what they do not want us to pay attention to. But I'm not going to have any part of that. Absolutely not. I'm going to exploit.
For me, it's just science, brother. That's it. For me, it's just science, like any other science.
Oh, yeah. That's what I would like to know. And Vic, I have a theory that the moon is amplifying the constellation behind it, but only if we are connecting to the constellation through the moon and sun via earthing, barefoot, right? Connecting the circuit and somehow infusing the intentions to reciprocate throughout our reality. There's got to be something there. Has to be. They're not just random lights. Man,
That's why you have the ascendants and descendants in the astrology, because the sun and the moon and the constellation and the position between them, because that's why we have the moon in Scorpio, the moon in Sagittarius, the sun in. That's the reason, because there is a interconnectivity of all these luminaries affecting us humans in a way. And
yeah.
we are divided into the main 12, same way as the zodiac, we are divided into the whole humanity. But maybe there could be an extra or two other zodiac that we don't know about. But we know it connects, we feel it, we feel the energy, we feel Pluto in retraction, the alienation of different planets. And it's it's happening, but it's just we know that it's not happening on a globe. That's it. So
I just basically become more aware of the random events which unfold in my daily reality. And I become more aware of how I'm reacting to those events. And then I see how, okay, that this new awareness is a result of my awakening, right? You can kind of see the patterns of how your day unfolds and how your reality has been manifested due to this new awareness of the cosmos. There's definitely something there, man. It's not just astrology on a surface level of words. It's how your reality and your everyday events unfold, right? The people that you meet, the circumstances that unfold are all kind of intertwined in a way that one necessarily has not noticed before. Man, what a rant that was.
There you go. What do we say? Line upon line, precept upon precept. So, for example, there are people that we all three know that they've come to realize that the shape of the Earth is not a spinning ball. However, just when they're brand new, they can never discuss just because they don't have the depth of knowledge that we have in our discussion. They don't want to join us because they don't feel like they can keep up with us. It takes a few years to get where we're at from the very beginning. Line upon line, precept upon precept. There you go.
There you go, buddy. Yeah. And we only, having these conversations, I couldn't imagine all my life connecting with you guys. And we all know, the earth is not a ball. And now we're trying to decipher and communicate with all the other people who are awake out there, who are hopefully listening and evolving their intelligence to a new level just by having podcasts like this, right? It's
Yep.
inspiring.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. We are of the group that knows. we don't have the, and unfortunately, we don't have the access. We don't have the technology. We don't have the wealth to write textbooks about it. But but we know this. We could take comfort in this. We three here and everybody else that joins with us, anybody listening, we know this, and we know this for sure. If we had the technology, if we had the connections, the access, and the wealth, we would all write textbooks about it, and we would all confirm everything we talk about. Yes, we would, without a doubt.
Oh yeah, I'm smiling right now.
and replace their heliocentrism. That's the only reason they succeeded in shoving their heliocentrism down the throats of the universities in England. King Henry VIII is the one that did it. He shoved heliocentrism down the throats of the universities, or else he was going to cancel their funding. There you go. It was King Edict that forced the globe down the throats of the universities in England. Voila.
Yep.
Oh yeah, because that was happening. It was happening in Europe more or less. The explorations was going through Europe, so all the information was getting manipulated in Europe in a way, and they from there they spread it out. So whatever they decided, if they decided to push in the globe, so all that pushing took time, but it happened through a period of long time, but through Europe.
And now, Vikka, they are pushing the flat circle. You notice, right? So I'm skeptical. I want to know, and that's totally okay. Not backtracking in our conversation, but notice they are pushing the flat circle, right, with the ice wall. And I got questions about that, man. There's some things that do not add up for me, right? At the equator, for instance, it's a straight line on March 21st, September 21st, but yet we see the sun and moon going in an arc. That's a problem. Aurora Australis is an issue. Observations not matching what our assertions are, right? So that's honest, right? So I am no longer going to be indoctrinated by a globe. I am no longer going to blindly accept the flat circle. I'm intrigued about the possibilities, and I know you guys are too. So, rant complete again. And we have
voila.
Trying to stay on.
Hey, Keith just joined us. Hey, Keith, how are you?
Hey, Vikka, doing good. I just got to my destination and jumped on and listened to you guys. Saw there was only 3 of you. Thought I'd jump in and say hi.
Yes, brother.
There we go.
Awesome.
Hello, Keith.
I heard Rob saying something about line upon line and precept upon precept, and James saying something about the flat circle, and we just don't know. And the reality is there's a whole lot more that we don't know than what we do know. But the fact is the Earth is flat and motionless. That we do know as an absolute truth.
Meaning not a ball and spinning, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of mysterious things, and God does work in mysterious ways, and I'm glad to be on this path and on this journey. I was glad that a Navy pilot introduced me to this path back in 2017
Navy pilot.
After he had flown missions in Antarctica for 5 years and told me Antarctica is not a continent on the bottom of a ball. I'm glad to be on this path, learning as much as I can day by day.
Wow, that's awesome. That's fabulous. I think I mentioned to you, Keith, that I have a buddy, former buddy. He cut me off when I started talking about the real shape of the Earth. He flies an Air Force plane from New York all the way to Hawaii and then McMurdo Station once a month. And I kept trying to tell him that you never dip your nose, you never fly downwards around the ball, you don't do all these things, because I'm talking pilot talk. Pretty soon he cut me off, never responded to me. This is an Air Force, Air National Guard guy. Compare that to your Navy guy who tell you everything that we know. So so they can talk about it. The one guy just chose not to. Voila.
Yeah, there's some people that are just committed to their own beliefs. They're committed to their lives, and they're just simply unwilling to question what they were brainwashed with. And
there you go. That's it.
I mean, if you question the heliocentric hypothesis just a little bit, it starts to fall apart really fast.
And they immediately default back to the safety zone of how their reality is, so they no longer question it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everything seems to add up and seems to work, so why bother? They're just too busy with their lives to question it at length. But no, that's where we step in, right? We are making some noise, and we are not going away.
And we're not going away. That's right. The truth is out of the bag.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm active with some groups, almost on a daily basis. If I totaled up the groups, it's tens of thousands of people, maybe a few hundred of them I kind of know and touch personally. But it's definitely growing. I had another private message today saying, "Hey, I watched one of your videos and I heard you say you could recommend some resources, and I'm new to this. Please tell me more and tell me where to go learn some of the truth." Because inevitably they already went online and searched and found all the bogus information from the people that are paid liars, and they were coming to me
Right.
for places that they could actually go do some real research about our observable reality.
Well done.
Well,
Oh yeah.
just to say, guys, I start with where I live, just observing my reality, right? It starts with observing the sun, moon rise, just establishing those points for your own perspective so that you can expand your consciousness awareness of the bigger picture. I don't know if you guys, and that's why I love astronomy, because it helps me, just to see a bigger picture, an eagle's eye view of what's going on from above, right? That's where my flat earth awakening is at this moment. I'm not concerned as much with, it being flat, because I know this. I want to know, what is going on from above. Is the Milky Way a toroidal field of energy in the center? And man, it's spectacular, right?
Yeah. Now, have
Yeah.
you guys discussed, or James, do you know much about the sidereal calendar versus the corporate calendar, and actually following the motions of the stars versus the 365 days that they've made up for us? Have you guys talked about that at all? What the differences in the two?
No, but don't know enough about it, but I do want to say 13 full moons a year times 28 is 364, right?
Right.
Okay, so wouldn't that be natural that there be 13 months? Some can argue that. I give you that, right? But all of this, time change and sidereal truths are done to throw off our natural body rhythm with the cosmos. I'm convinced of it, right? Has to be. I don't know enough about sidereal versus this and that astrology. I don't know enough about it,
Yeah,
but
I
I'm
don't.
gonna learn.
That's one of my next steps of things I plan on learning about. I've got a friend that's into it, and he studies the stars. He plants his crops according to the stars and harvests them according to the stars. So he's become a teacher to me in some ways. But that's one of my next steps in my path and my journey, is to learn about the motions. And you guys were talking about the energies and the frequencies of the luminaries. I think we are connected to those more than we realize. And if we become more aware of that, then we will become a little more balanced, and spiritually, emotionally, and mentally.
And to ascend out of this place, I think that's important, right? We chose to be here karmically for whatever reason, and now our first step of ascending out of this place could be to, first of all, establish an awareness of the truth, and secondly, connect with the luminaries through astrology, and thirdly, to who knows whether what we're in an actual, is this heaven or hell? What are we in here, right?
What we makes of it, what we make of it, because it's as we say, it depends on the frequency we are. We could be on a frequency that we are gonna feel like we're in hell in whatever moment, and in the same, after some time, we're in another frequency and we feel like this is paradise. So
Yep.
I think it's
Yep.
all about our
Yeah, and all this from the North Pole topic. How did we end up here?
Yeah. Well,
yeah. So we're gonna take a break. Yeah, we're gonna take a break and we're gonna come back. Maybe we can get a bit more on the topic, a little bit. Yeah, and we see what's happened. All right, we're gonna be right back, guys. All right, welcome back, guys, to the show. I'm gonna give a quick shout out to the people in the chat. It's Dr. Frankenstein, Stephanie Campbell, Tommy Rogers. Hey, brother. There's Cover to Cover with Jeremy Pierce. Then there's Lisa Marie Nicholas. There's Jess Palmer, Lee Ann Ballard, a couple of people from Facebook. Then we've got who else? P.A. Werner, more people from Facebook. Asa Pancake, and then we got Fisherman in a Box. Hey, brother, Fisherman in a Box. Do check out his channel too. Amazing channel. Then it's Chillster Deluxe. Yep. There's also RTS update saying restreaming live on RTS with 2.2K thousand likes so far. Support Flat Earth Director Vikka Draziv on RTS. Yes, people do check out RTS. And then there is Mad About Shape. Zeus Scott. Hey, brother, how are you? And then there's Profile 766. And then there is there was FE Nation. And yes, John C. Oddity is also there. And there is T. Cherino de Bambino. Wow, hello. If you're new here to the channel, people do subscribe. Yep. And yeah, what an awesome topic we have today. We are a bit all over, but I've got James with me from the channel iJack9 on YouTube. And then I've got Rob Flat Plain Earth. You can find him on YouTube and on Facebook with the same name. And yes, North Pole, Hyperborea, Shambhala, Eden. There's so many other names to it. So if every culture had that there existed this myth, or no, how you say, that magical land where it's supposed to be the center, where we really perceive our north, our center, where we also have an awesome Aurora Borealis. You know, even the Hollywood people speak about that top center. So with having so many different, from so many different places about the existence of that north, so could be happening, because I have in one of my videos I speak about the north, where I say, also mention that it's called the Saturn. It's for where the time turns, the magnetic north, Saturn, you know, and Saturn is connected with Kronos. So this is where the time moves on the north. You know, what you guys think?
Well, well, yeah, I mean, definitely just want to say, if we are using the north as our reference point for the center, which is, I question that still, but yes, we have to think about it as all the hours of the day are spanning outward from the center point, right? Speaking of, I want to know if you guys have any thoughts on this about why. I know what the heliocentric model says, but I want to know if, in fact, we have a 24-hour sun at the north, why isn't the North Pole the hottest place on Earth? And I know what the heliocentric explanation for that is. It's due to the angle of the atmosphere and the sun. But what do you guys think? Sorry to change the topic, or not changing it, but speaking
No,
about the North Pole.
We had a show about the midnight sun, and where we spoke about that the degrees. The degrees what are changing in the north, or comparing to the Antarctic, the way they say to us are not so extreme like they're saying in the south. So in the north, it's not so extreme. That's why it's supposed to have that kind of vegetation. And as we spoke about too, the 24-hour sun, that we're not sure that if it's happening really in Antarctica. So
well,
yep, maybe, yeah, go ahead.
Well, in theory, right, if it is a globe, you should have the identical climates in the south regions as you do in the north regions, but that doesn't happen. And their excuse is that, it's because the oceans are cooling and warming. But man, it's just, uh, it's a conundrum of theories that we have to really sit and figure what is going on here. Is there? I think, Vikka, for sure, the star trails will point us in the right direction. If we, I'm sure of it. It's got
Oh
to be
yeah,
something
oh
there.
yeah, oh yeah, and yeah, we're gonna break it down for the next week. The star trails. So definitely, we have
Yeah.
a lot of inputs to so that the people could understand what's really happening with the star and the star trails. Yeah, because as you said, the globetrotters they really grab onto this. So
Well, they're grabbing. Man, I think we're going to make a difference, though, right? I mean, it definitely is not going away, and I think if anything, we cannot help but bring it up in typical small talk, right? All of us, when we mention it to strangers, you know, or whoever we're talking to, it has an effect on them, whether they like to admit it or not. You know, the types of people that you bring it up to and they dismiss it. Well, you planted a seed, and it's going to come back, and it's going to change for them, and it will. I know it will. So,
right, and you remember also? Did you see that documentary that the lost history of flat Earth, where it's speaking about the changing of the magnetic north and the north really north, so and the sun. So what do you think about it? Because that could change a few things, about the North Pole and the magnetic mountain or
my
the magnetic. Yep, go ahead.
my honest opinion is that nothing's going to change. I really don't think so. I think whoever created this place did so that it was indestructible. Okay, no matter how hard they try, and no matter how much they try to say that we're going to experience pole shifts or
Or the
change.
North
Yeah,
Shift.
no, this is a perfect creation, indestructible, not to worry. I don't think we have a damn thing to worry about. This thing is amazing, and all of these deceptions about the Iwarion came up with that long documentary, 8 9 hours. I even question that, man. Where did this guy get his information? Where is he coming up with this stuff? Is it just more sheep herding? I dismiss the notion of the pole shifting and the magnetic north moving, and if that puts me in a place where I'm different than everyone, that's fine. I'm cool with that, right? That's fine. I just don't think anything is going to be drastically different, and nothing is going to change on this realm. It's a perfect creation. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on
Also,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that obviously there's not going to be a pole shift because there's not two poles, but the fact that this place has been going for all of recorded history and the stars are still in the same place. I think another 1,000 years from now, the stars will be in the same place as they are tonight.
Yep.
Yep.
For sure. So
well
that's
said. So it's more possibility that it's a fixed center where we don't know if it's really the Opus Nigra, what Rupus Nigra, the mountain that they speak about, the magnetic mountain they show in the movies. It could be a real mountain. It could be just a magnetic center, or with the magnetic energy, with the energy coming through the Earth from the center. Could be and could be it's possible, but what could be happening there, because so many different texts saying that there is this fixed mountain. Some texts say it's a gold mountain. The similarities are of the four rivers and everything. So
The 33 or 33rd Freemason, Manly P. Hall. I've got his book. It's a huge book. I have not read all of it. I've only read a little bit. But the cover of his book shows the Earth as a torus field, basically, and the tree of life coming up out of the center. And I have no idea. I'm just
oh
thinking
yeah,
maybe that
oh
that
yeah,
tree,
tree of
maybe
life.
that tree of life was one of the main trees that got cut down, and maybe the stump there is now, and then that's the Black Mountain Magnetic. I don't know, but I think
Yeah,
what.
that's
Yeah, go ahead,
go
Vikka.
ahead, Keith.
No, I just
Yeah,
think
that's
it's
what I wanted to add. No,
yeah.
go ahead, Keith.
Well, the tree. I took a good long drive with my dad today, and he's new to all of this, so talked about lots of things, and he had never even heard about the giant trees. But those giant trees are everywhere. Those giant trees that are out
Yeah,
from the center could be the seeds that fell off the main tree that was in the center.
exactly. So this is what I wanted to add. The tree of life. The tree of life is we also have in different cultures also the speaking about this tree of life. And we also think that there could be possibility that this giant tree existed. We have the sequoia still, so it's possible that this huge tree could have existed, and this tree could be existing right now, could be, or just the form of the energy, the way it moves also could be looks like a tree, because we spoke about the toroidal fields, how it looks like the the column, and it opens up like the branches and the roots in the ground. So maybe it's just a representation, you know or maybe
Well,
there is that tree. Yeah, go ahead.
um,
Is it metaphor
amongst
or
the,
realistic?
go ahead, buddy.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say a massive toroidal field, the suspended plane of inertia in the center of a massive vibrating field of energy, right? And there's obviously, vibrating frequency all around us. And who knows if the Earth is a suspended plane at the neutral point of, positive and negative charges. And that's what's causing the perpetual energy machine or creation to suspend our reality in this multidimensional existence. Who's to know whether or not giant trees are still existing? We just can't see them in our three-dimensional senses. I'm open to that. Absolutely.
Wow.
And I only know this, guys, from years of listening to podcasts. And I know you guys are the same. You guys are just like me, researching this every night. And you will not stop. It's just always feeding yourself with possibilities and theories about this new existence. Life came alive for me I'm 48 now. At 44, holy smokes, I made a shift. And all of a sudden, everything comes alive. Nature, clouds. What are we looking at? Is our clouds aware, conscious? Who's to say? I see faces
Right,
in the
right.
clouds, right? I'm sure you guys
Oh
do
yeah,
too.
pareidolia. Yeah,
Right.
pareidolia, not only in the clouds, in the trees, in the minerals, in the land, in the water, in everything.
Mm-hmm. A toroidal
So they
field.
also,
Go ahead.
yeah, so they also say about the 12 that it's possible that the sun, all the luminaries, it's a way, it's connected to this central axis, this north pole, or this so all the stars, all the sun, the moon, it's a way, it's connected like with a thread. The thread is supposed to be invisible. It's a way of saying it, of how everything is just moving around us in that clock. So to the central, we know that the compass is faced to the north. Even when they first discovered, they made the compass. They were using a stone called lodestone, and with the shape of a spoon, and they just moved on a flat surface, and it was pointing towards the north. So, and also the same, the magnetic north and the vibration and energy is from that central. It also helps that technology, that low vibrations. Our mobile phones have a technology which picks up these vibrations from the north, lower, I don't know the exact word, but it detects. That's why we know our location. For example, with a compass, is an instrument thing, but a mobile is an electronic thing. So electronic and magnetic stuff, will have interference. That's why. So how we have that GPS in us, inside our mobile phone, it's nothing else than it's picking up through sensors, that is picking up this magnetic north, low frequency vibration that is coming from the north center. That's why we could position ourselves around the plane. Oops, sorry guys. Okay, just
I,
wanted to put it out there. Yeah.
I wonder if the people in the South orient themselves to the north naturally like we do in the north, or do they naturally orient themselves with the south? I think I have an assumption here that they orient themselves to the north always, not the south. Does anyone have a comment on that? Do you know what I mean? Right, because
Yep.
technically they should be orienting themselves with the closest magnetic center for them, which is the South Pole. But I don't think that happens. If you're standing in New Zealand, you automatically know where your north is. I believe that's true.
Wherever, right, well said. But wherever they are on this plane, plotting a chart or trying to navigate, they always have to look for the constellation, and they're always gonna be towards the north, because for a compass it's a straight line, same like a plane. The plane is following a straight line. It doesn't know if it's going north to south or south to north. It's going on a straight line. That's what it's doing.
Well, yeah, deeply in thought as we discuss this, guys. And yeah, I don't know what to say right now because my brain is on overload with all the flat talk, but I'm trying to make sense of all this. But go ahead while I figure out something to say. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, that, because it all comes in the moment. So
yeah.
Well, I know in keeping with the subject of the magnetic center, or going beyond Borealis, and the people who live in the north who see those lights, and the people that would have almost like a pole with strands of fabric hanging from the pole, and they would dance around this pole in a circle, mimicking what they would see in the sky, seeing the stars rotate around this pole, and they would do that as a celebration. So I think, and this is going back to cultures or to people 100 years ago, 200 years ago, and I think whatever happened 150 years ago or so, whatever reset there may or may not have been, I think people knew more about the life of the luminaries and celebrating those. And I think if we get back to that, of just holding those in our mind more, and the energy of that thought, we'll start to reveal more of the truths to us that we're looking for.
Oh yeah.
Seek the truth with an open mind. There's nothing will stop us along that path, by all means.
Truth is light, and lies are darkness, and truth creates peace, lies create stress. Truth is it makes you strong. Lies make you weak, and that's a big part of me finding flat Earth. Is I felt a strength in me. And I've always been a confident guy, and I try to toe the line and not be an arrogant guy, because there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. But as my flat Earth knowledge increased, and is still increasing, I just feel an inner strength that I didn't have before.
Isn't that incredible?
Me too. Right?
We were discussing something along that line earlier.
Oh yeah, but that entails delving deep into the heliocentric side too, right?
Absolutely.
You have to know that model inside out.
All of us know.
There's a saying in Spanish. There's a saying in Spanish called "No te pierde el norte," means don't lose your north. It says all.
Yeah.
Don't lose your north. Keep your head north.
Yeah.
If you lose your north, you're lost, no matter what you're doing. So it's a nice phrase there.
Yeah. True north.
And I wonder if compasses are different. I wonder if they're rigged. I don't think so, right? What is the phenomenon behind the compass being magnetically attracted to the north? Even that is fascinating to me, right? How is that happening? Everything's a mystery to me in a sense.
And I really wonder why you have to hold a flat work.
Right.
Exactly. Here's a simple concept. The entire creation, and every aspect of it, every physical form of the creation, all the inanimate objects, everything reflects the Creator. That's why. That's a simple answer right there, James.
Yeah.
That the Creator, the creation worships the Creator.
The instruments, which was invented, being the compass. It was the metal that was attracting to the center what was supposed to. That's how they invented it, and they started using it for the navigations. So the thing is, this existed. They just discovered it And the same with the sextant, the same with the astrolabe, the same with the watch in Austria. The watch in Austria, which is supposed to be this watch where it's like a flat astrolabe that is working from past 200 or more plus years. So all these instruments are working through that magnetic north, or what that energy, or the toroidal field, or the tree of life, whatever we want to call it, or the magnetic mountain. It's showing us the truth of existence through these instruments, that it's happening, that it's flat, that it's center. It's that's the only center. That's why everything is working around it. The navigations, everything is happening because of that. I spoke about the GPS, how it's working. So it's just proving the creator's creation that is flat.
There you go.
So that being said, compass will never be attracted to the south magnetic, because there in theory is no magnetic pull to the south pole, correct? Zero.
Right,
Well,
because
it's
always going to be. Yeah, go ahead, Rob.
It's never happened in all of recorded history. Right? The proof of that is, put a magnet at the center of a circle. You can move your compass anywhere you want. It will always reflect the center, and then the south becomes the ring around it. There you go. Simple. That's a simple. It's easily observable, testable, and repeatable. That one right there.
Oh yeah. Oh boy. Well, hi.
And the navigation also wouldn't be the same, right? Even the navigation wouldn't be the same for thousands of years. The constellation, the bearings they take on the ships,
Yeah.
most of the instruments, the planes, the ships, they all are using GPS and compass and radars, and everything we spoke about also in the documentary is that it's all about the flat plane, and how everything is only functioning on a flat plane, be it electronic, be it mechanical, be it through the stars, be it to the sun, to the bearing.
And even in
Astrolabe.
nature too, right? Like, I mean, the very fact of flight, bees being far too large for their, bumblebees being far too large for their wings. What is going on there? Is this all frequency based? Is their wings creating some kind of dissonance within the atmosphere that's causing them to fly? I don't know. It's not flapping their wings very rapidly to cause this. There's something there, right? Nature revealing the truth all around us, hidden in plain sight all our life. So I feel like nature gives us the truth always, including the compass, including all the animals.
And James, I can answer that right now. As a pilot, not just a car driver pilot, get in the plane, give it some throttle and take off, turn left and right, and there's your piloting. No, I'm a rotary wing pilot, which means I understand the physics of lift and how to apply it in a helicopter, in a rotary wing aircraft. It occurred to me one day, how do bumblebees fly? Why? How and why? Well, it occurred to me. I went to YouTube and I typed in bumblebee flight slow motion. And James, if you want to know how bumblebees fly, go and do that. Just go to YouTube and type this: bumblebee flight slow motion. Here's the answer. Their wings beat so fast, they're beating the wind in both directions. A bumblebee's wing is the motion of a bumblebee's wing is no different than a human leg in the water when it's treading water.
Okay.
Bumblebees tread water. They tread the air with their wings, just like a human leg beats the water. Like what do we say, the egg, the churning, the churning. You see what I mean? The churning motion of human leg when it's treading water. The bumblebee wing is no different. So check it out. I'll just invite you to do that. You'll see what I'm talking about when you look at the slow motion of it. There you go.
I will.
Right.
We go from North Pole to bumblebees.
Yeah, and all the animals, all the animals, I think are flying, and all their, how do you say, when they do when they go from one place to another. What's the exact word?
Migration.
Migration, right? Migration, when they migrate, and all these animals have those senses. Even the whales and most of the animals that live on this plane have that senses because of that not magnetic. That's how they orientation. They don't have any GPS. They have their own GPS because of that magnetic.
And if you don't mind, a little extension on there. So from the bumblebee flight, I went to a bird flight slow motion. Hummingbird, for example, no different than the bumblebee. Just check it out. Just like bird flight slow motion, what you find is that the bird wing is swimming, more or less, it's swimming in the air, no different than a human swims in water. It's no different. If you see what I mean here. Hydrodynamics, the air, we've all heard this before, the air operates as liquid at high velocity. There you go. There's aerodynamics.
Yeah, everything water, right? Whether or
not, water of life, right? There you go.
Solid, liquid, steam, or slush.
There you go, right? Water in all its phases.
Yeah.
Right. So now that I had that knowledge, now I know that bumblebees, literally, they tread the air like we tread water, and a bird's wing, the bird swims in the air like we swim in the water. That was a huge step in understanding that. I went through university engineering school, and nobody ever told me that. You see what I mean? Now that I'm a degree engineer and a degree pilot with credential, now that I'm realizing this, that we all know this, we are our own scientists. Well, gee, apply that model to everything in the earth, and that is learning right there. That model, and that's learning right there. That's why we're all here. We're trying to decipher this world around us. We know this, that the word university is a Luciferian anagram of the word Luciferian. University is almost the same word as Luciferian. So we know we cannot trust the universities. That's where the fallacy is. Any learning that we do is true learning that we can verify. Any learning that we do and we can verify it, that's real learning. If we all around the world could somehow communicate with each other and catalog it all, then we would have quite an encyclopedia.
Oh yeah, I mean, just this podcast alone, the phenomenon of communicating with you guys around the realm, amazing, right? Yeah. In real time. Oh.
And that's why we say the age of truth has arrived, and it will no longer go away. It will not go away. The world order, and I say again, the Luciferian world order has succeeded several times in the past in removing truth from general knowledge, but it's not going to happen again. The age of truth is here, and if they were to destroy the internet, we would all find a way to build it back. In other words, there are other forms of internet. The internet that we're using now is just the early form of it. There's many other types of worldwide communication other than merely internet. Voila, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
if they were to somehow destroy the internet, we would recreate it. Sorry, Keith, go ahead.
That's okay. I mean, relating what you're saying to getting back to the energies or frequencies from the center of the earth or from Polaris itself, I don't know, but that old scripture you probably all heard that go to the animals and they will teach you. The animals are in tune with that, and if they're on an island,
well said.
And a tsunami is coming, they all go to higher ground. Well, how did they know to do that? They're in tune to whatever that energy or frequency or power or relationship or presence is that we all are hopefully learning to get more in tune with ourselves so that we have a life of deeper meaning and more purpose.
And here's one reason why they don't use fluoride.
Yeah.
Right. The pineal gland, all right?
Yeah,
for example.
Theirs is not.
They don't watch TV. They don't go to university.
Yeah.
And they're not panicking about a wipeout. They're going about their business as usual, and that's how it should be. Right?
Absolutely. They're
there you go, right?
That's why I don't believe in a wipeout. Sorry to say, guys, I don't.
Oh yeah, of course.
Even
Now,
though it appears that way, possibly about, looks like, the builders of the pyramids, and it looks like there's been massive devastation. Sure, they may have tried, but I really don't think it will. And my basis for that assumption is I look at nature, right? Nature is pressing on. It is continuing. It is not falling for the deception of suddenly being wiped out by a massive electromagnetic phenomenon, or a flood. Or I'm not anti, people would say, okay, maybe you're not paying attention to what the Bible is saying about Noah, and perhaps, but my reality is based upon my observations and my understanding of nature. And
well said.
Nature's pressing on.
Prove all things, James. That's what you're saying. Prove all things. Show me the evidence, and then I'll talk. We'll discuss once I see the evidence, of course.
Right. I'm glad I can have that talk with you guys without the fear of judgment, right? And I know you guys don't judge, but to be able to express myself freely without, the blowback of a troll is so important. So.
Oh yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
Notice, James. Even the Holy Creator's book, the Bible, says, "Prove all things."
True. Yeah.
And here's the proof that the Creator exists. Well, the shape of the earth, number one. Okay. And number two, life. No living form exists without something that has created it. Spontaneous generation is an absurdity. It cannot happen. It does not happen. Something created all life on this creation. Something created the very creation itself. There you go. There is a creator. And his book says, don't believe anything without researching it. Prove all things, because the proof is there. Look at nature. Look at the animals, the way they operate. Look at nature, the way the water operates, the way the sun and the moon circle overhead, right? Yeah. Observe things and educate yourself. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Getting back to animals for a minute, the scripture in Genesis about, where God said to the land, let the land bring forth these land creatures, and let the sea bring forth all these sea creatures. Well, when God created man, when he created you and me, he spoke to himself. He said, let us make man in our image.
There you go, right?
If you take a land animal and throw it in the ocean, it's going to drown and die. If you take a sea creature and put it up on land, it's going to suffocate and it's going to die. And I think if you separate us from our source, you separate us from our creator, we die. And so part of this flat earth truth and knowledge is getting us reconnected to our source.
Do you guys feel like we're naturally suited for our environment? I mean, I often debate whether that is, we don't seem to be, right? We're the only existing life form that's not naturally suited to this environment. Or are we? I mean, it's we don't have hair to cope with the winter, right?
Human beings have thrived in this environment for thousands of years.
Yeah.
We haven't died off, for example.
That's true. Right?
You see where I'm going?
Yeah.
The human mind is what allows it to live in any condition.
That's true. Right.
Voila.
The physical world and the invisible world. And, our bodies are designed for the physical world, but there's a spirit in us that's invisible. And there's a whole nother world, another realm that we can't see with our physical eyes. But all of us on this podcast, we know how real it is.
There you go. Voila.
Oh yeah, we have animals. We have humanoids that we call ourselves, and there has to be species which are much more evolved than us. It's possible. Why not? Why have we have to think that we are the most evolved beings on this plane? Because life is in every form we can imagine, just flesh and blood, and in the form of an animal, bird, or humans, or so. This plane is, this existence is, yes,
magical, man.
It is magic.
Oh, it is.
Right?
It's electromagnetic, which is more powerful than magical. Electromagnetic. That's a better word than magical. How about that?
There you go. Yeah. Always open-minded to the possibility of higher life forms interacting with us every day as we speak, even though we can't sense them physically, right? That's where I'm at, as trying to establish a stronger connection to other realms in my everyday existence. Rather than just, say it, I feel it. I don't know if you guys are the same. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, and I'll agree with that, James. I will tell you this. As often as I study the Holy Scripture, Now, I will say, let me caveat here: the King James version is English. It's one of the least reliable versions of the translations. However, when I read the scripture and I understand it properly, I'm the closest that I ever am to any other dimension. I get myself closer there when I study the textbook of the holy creators.
Well, there's much I have to
Agreeing
learn.
with you.
I will
Yes, sir.
learn.
Yeah. So, and also, brother, if you see the flat Earth cosmology of any culture, you see, other than NASA, they all are flat. They all have their tree of
with the
life in
dome
the
overhead.
middle is flat, dome overhead, and the Earth below. So, if most of the cosmologies of all over the world have
Without fail.
their
Without fail.
creation starts with the same thing, looks the same. So, you think there is going to be any differences than similarities in all the cosmologies? Which I think it would really, there are more similarities between all the cosmology and all the scriptures and all the texts than differences. Because
Yes, absolutely. Well said there. And that's an anthropological fact there, Vikka. Fact. Without fail, all of the ancient cosmologies reflect what you just described. NASA comes along and turns everything upside down. NASA's part of the Isaiah 29:16, where it says, your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as potter's clay. Well, NASA fits that description to a T. The globe model fits that description to a T.
Well, it's just fascinating how they've been able to do this deception. And it really points to a higher intelligence assisting whoever is doing this, right? I don't think it's capable of, a man to have
Right.
this deception
Well
at
said.
this level without some kind of assistance from another realm.
Almost as if it's been
bring in the globe, to bring in the globe, you mean, brother?
Many years.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
to come up with all the complex mathematical formulas and explanations for everything, I don't think man itself is capable of that without some kind of assistance from another realm, which is far more intelligent, equal intelligence to the creative good force. I believe that the nefarious forces have seized control to a certain point and have allowed this indoctrination of falsities to perpetuate. And that intelligence is definitely not based just on mankind at this level. I don't think man is capable of that deception. Do you? It has to be something greater. Not greater,
James,
more
it's
evil.
as if the understanding of the heliocentric Luciferians is transcends this existence.
Yep.
Right? As if it transcends into other flat earths and other ways of manipulating people. That's exactly right, James. Legion. Remember when Jesus cast the spirit, the legion of evil spirit into the swine because they said they were legion? Well, that's what we're dealing with. All right? Yep. We're dealing with Luciferian intelligence. Yes, it's exactly what we're dealing with. Yep. Well said.
The thing is, James, that it's not so difficult to brainwash the masses. That's the problem. Mm-hmm. It's so easy. That's the problem. That's why the globe is here. And it just didn't happen in 10 years, 20 years. It's happened in the last 500 years, but it was planned that way because they knew that the humans are gonna, the authority, when the authority says something, that's the truth. We know who were the authorities from all these 500 years, okay? Yep. And whatever they were interest and agenda, but it took that 500 years, but it worked it out. There could be a extra, as you said, connection to make this happen, but the humanity, the masses in general, from all these 500 years, it's very easy. It's very easy for them to put into a fairy tale and make believe, just out of the box, anything out of the box. You know, things are happening today in this world that we could literally separate what is right and what is wrong, but the people don't want to see it.
Yep.
So imagine what was the technology and communication 200 years ago, where you said, this is like that. This is a ball. It's a ball. You know? So
Yeah.
just my take, bro.
I agree that we are malleable in our perception, and it's that naivety which has allowed this deception to occur, right? Our sense of perspective has been greatly distorted, and therefore that malleability of naivety has caused the indoctrination to occur. And this is where it stops. I'm putting my foot down, guys, and I know you are too. And we're going to do something about this. And I promise you this, we are not going away. We are only get louder, and we're coming for them.
Oh, yeah.
In defense of nature and the creator. And that's what motivates me. And I'm pretty sure it motivates you guys.
Oh, yeah. That's why. That's why we are here. We could be doing anything else on this social media platform and anything else other than this, you know? So.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Yep, we could have continued forever, but yep, we're gonna have some last thoughts about this. Yeah, we know there are some powerful countries that surround the north, so they're not gonna really let any one of us. They didn't let before, and they're not gonna let now. So, yeah.
Well, just to say, I'm really thankful you had me on the show, Vikka. And I appreciate it. Anytime you want to have me back, I'm really flattered. And it's a pleasure to meet you online here, Rob and Keith. You guys can message me anytime. And just want to say thank you, man. I really, really appreciated being a guest of yours tonight. Thanks, man.
Oh yeah, brother. It was a pleasure always to have you too, for sure. Next week episode is all about Sartrell, so you're definitely gonna be there. So great to
Let
have
me
you,
know,
brother.
brother.
Right on.
Cool, man. And I will make sure I write down some points so the conversation does not go dry. If I'm responsible for that, I apologize, but I'll be prepared. Thanks a million, guys.
Oh,
Awesome, bro.
it's never dry. It's never dry because
Okay.
our topic is truth. It's never
Yeah.
dry on truth. And
That's true.
and James, if you're complete, then Vikka, I'll just go ahead with my final thoughts. Is that good? Is that okay with you, James?
Yeah,
Yep.
man. All good.
Okay. Yeah. So here's my final thought. Just to reiterate what we've already said, we are discussing truth. We're not going away. They have succeeded. They burned the library in Alexandria. They've taken most of anthropological artifacts. They're hidden underneath the Vatican. Who knows what's in there? I don't know what's in there. I just know that there's a lot in there. There's a lot of history that we all love to spend 3 lifetimes reviewing what's there. And guess what? There's another version of that Vatican catacombs. It's called the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. That's no different. They've got a lot of they've got the giant skeletons either packed up in there or destroyed. Okay, that the giant skeletons 9 and 10 feet tall, and even 14 and 15 and taller than that feet tall, that covered North America at one time. They don't want people to know history because if everybody knew what happened in history, it proves the Holy Scripture, proving the Creator, which is their enemy. And so they're doing their best to brainwash everybody into thinking we're on this giant sloshing, spinning space ball that is physically impossible, which is our very topic in all its forms, all its ways, and all of its examples. So again, it's nice talking with this in this group. We're able to talk freely, and it's not dry at all. We for example, you mentioned a point there, James. We may reach a point that we got some dead silence, but I don't care. Dead silence is also important sometimes because it allows us to think.
For sure, buddy. We went from the North Pole to bumblebees and back, and we figured stuff out. Right?
There we go. Right? Yeah. It allows us to think and contemplate, and then develop our arguments, meaning what we're going to say next. Whereas when we go to the university, that doesn't happen until we reach the graduate level. And still within the graduate level, I'll tell you, we're still limited by the paradigm. What is agreed to talk about. We can't bring up items that are outside of that. We've all reached that. That's another version of cognitive dissonance. It all surrounds us. Whereas on this program, there is none. No such thing as cognitive dissonance. If somebody has something interesting to talk about, well, let's talk about it. Let's hear it, and let's contemplate it. This is the Socratic method to the T. So,
Bravo, bud. Well
not,
said.
yeah, exactly. Nice talking about all this. I can't wait to get into our next version of our Flatten the Curve documentary. Vikka, we need to start a regular production, and because we have a base for it now, we don't need to wait between iterations. We just need to get moving on these and start making an outline. I already have an outline for a lot of them to go forward. My last thoughts are this: the two most important words of science are flat Earth. There is no science without it. And I'll say this, and I'm a degreed scientist myself in several different ways. There is no science without recognizing the shape of the Earth. Number one, water doesn't curve. Still water in a container, it doesn't curve. We can turn the container 360 degrees in all directions, and the water remains flat and motionless. Period. There is no escaping that. And that tells us because 70% of the Earth is covered with water, well, and water doesn't curve and it's motionless. Well, that tells us the Earth is not spinning and it's not moving and it's not curving either. That's the proof of it right there. Enough said. And I don't need a big screen, and I don't need a big pulpit, and I don't need anything else other than the words I just said. Water. Everybody can imagine water is motionless and it doesn't curve. Those two facts make a line and shows that water is a line, not a globe. Water. There is no such thing as curving water. It does not exist. It cannot exist. And so therefore, the shape of the creation points to the Creator, and Jesus Christ is the Creator. Jesus Christ, the Son of God. The two most important words of all time are Jesus Christ. The second two most important words, and the most important words of science, are flat Earth.
Flat
Jesus
Earth.
Christ, flat Earth. Voila. There we go. Enough.
Bam.
Awesome.
That's all for me.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks for all your input. Yes, and Keith.
Yeah, I'll just say for anyone listening to the podcast or the recording, find joy in your life. You can get into flat Earth and you can feel like you're rejected, or you can let the trolls affect you by calling you names and swearing at you, and just ignore all that, because part of finding joy in your life is learning to be in the mystery. And like I said earlier, there's a lot that we don't know. There's a lot that we do know, but there's so much more that we don't know. So just revel in the mystery, contemplate things, think about it. But ultimately, I think one of the main purposes of life is simply to enjoy it. And part of me to enjoy my life is to learn and to keep growing. So for those of you listening who you might be a little bit down because you've been rejected because of flat Earth, try your best to ignore those people and get back to finding the joy in your life. And Vikka, thanks for having me again. Rob and James, it was great to be with you.
Thanks, buddy.
Oh yeah, thanks, Keith, for passing by. Yeah, and yeah, we cannot know everything. Same as our topic today about the North Pole. And yeah, could be a tree, could be the toroidal central field, could be a mountain, could be the stump. So we could have different ideas. We know that they're not allowing us to go there, and we also saw that everything that works around is keeping your head to the north, being aligned to this north and not getting lost, and how the whole navigation system and all the animals, everything goes around this magnetic field. And without this, we are going to be lost. And yes, the Hyperborea, the Shambhala, the Eden, whatever you want to call it, where you could live a happy life for more than 1,000 years with the most beautiful trees and plants and animals, could be existing right now there. We don't know. We just know that all these ancient maps which existed, had these 4 islands with the rivers, with this land, which they call it mystics, but it's been phased out. Now we just have water on Google Earth and ice, and we're not allowed to go. So there is it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed, and definitely see you all for the next show. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, James, and thank you everybody in the chat. See you next week
Thanks,
with
Vikka.
another episode of Heliopsychosis podcast. Bye, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Astronauts to the moon.
Houston, we have a problem.